What's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name's Matt.
My name is Dyl, and I'm really excited for today's episode because I always feel bad. Matt has so much knowledge about international feature and documentary feature, can do these deep dive videos, and I can't really participate because I can admit that's not really my strongest suit when it comes to awards, but animation is something that I do feel a little bit confident in, so I can finally add to the cause here today. So we are talking about
Mhm.
Best Animated Feature for the very first time in the 2025-2026 Oscar season.
I'm excited. So this is part 2 out of 3 of our specialized category mid-year. You can check out the international feature video, which came out last week. And next week, we're going to have our documentary video. I'm going to do that as soon as TIFF announces its documentary lineup. So stay tuned for that. But animation. Ooh. This is really fun. I want to say this is really fun because even 2 weeks ago, I would have said animation is a wasteland. This category is shit this year. There is nothing here, and it's just going to be a disaster. We're going to be struggling for nominees the whole time. And now I feel very differently. I feel very, very differently. At least looking at the lineup that I've prepared today, I think that this could be one of the most exciting animation lineups that we have had in years. In years. Anyways, though, Dylan, I'd love to hear what is your number one in the animation category.
I'm really excited to hear what your lineup consists of because I still have that belief that you had a few weeks ago that this category does not look very interesting to me, at least at this moment. But I do have Zootopia 2 at my number one. And do I believe this will be our winner at the end of the day? I'm not sure quite yet. But I do think it can do at least what like Incredibles 2 or Inside Out 2 did in years past, being a returning winner from a previous film in a category that has room for it to survive. And that's why it's currently my number one, because I do think this is the safest nominee looking at my lineup of 10 I have right here. And then I also think the first Utopia had a lot of social commentary to add to it as well. Obviously, 2016 and 2025 are two very different times. So it's going to be very intriguing to see what the commentary really is this time around. Is it the same last time, just deeper, or are they going with a completely new angle? And depending on what they do, I think this could build itself a very nice package to become a returning winner, something that we have only seen the Toy Story movies do up to this point. But I am open to other options at this moment. There, I can admit I don't know a lot about some of these movies I have on my list because a lot of these movies have yet to screen anywhere. I think of my top 10, less or about half of them have officially been screened somewhere. So it's a really interesting time in this race because typically what we have in animated feature is we know all of our movies by this point of the year. They've all screened with the exception of maybe like one or two of them, whether it's at a festival or they've come out in theaters or we have seen so much footage of them because they're the big populist blockbuster type movies. So it's really interesting. And I'm really happy for this year that it is a pretty wide open race from 1 to 10.
I agree. I think Zootopia is a very safe nomination. Now, it's always risky to say safe nomination with a Disney sequel, or even just recently with Disney in general, because we've seen Frozen 2 didn't get a nomination, right? We've seen Strange World didn't get a nomination, Wish didn't get a nomination. Disney movies are not by necessity safe in the animation category. That said, I have no reason to believe that Zootopia is going to be a huge downturn in quality from the first one, and especially because Elio did so terribly at the box office. So terribly. And it's not going to be the Elemental, like, back end success. It's already not. Elio has already left theaters for the most part. Elemental similarly had a rough start, but it just kept going. The legs kept legging and they just kept making money. Elio doesn't have that. And so I don't think Elio is going to be the Disney push of the year. And Disney's always got to push. They've always got to push. And it's between Zootopia or Elio. Elio, I think, is out of it. So that means Zootopia 2's got to be the one that they funnel their support behind. Um, And although I don't feel safe about the quality of the film, we don't know what that's going to be. This could be a major flop. I feel pretty confident saying Disney's not going to have 0 nominations. They're going to have something, right?
Yeah, and I guess to touch on some of the points that you just had there, and I think a lot of the movies you gave an example for of Disney missing out on the category, and you can even add Moana 2 to this, had major
Yeah.
red flags ahead of time. Moana 2 was destined for Disney Plus, where they switched it up to become a theatrical release. Wish and Strange World had so many behind the scenes issues in terms of its production, which could correlate over to Elio, which I currently do have in my five. And then Frozen 2 was a movie that they basically told them, hey, you have 5 months, make this movie, get it out for us by the end of the year. So like they all had major flags against them, whereas Zootopia 2, at least to me, seems very much more in line with Inside Out 2, where they said, hey, we're not going to do another one until you have the story ready for us. When you have it ready, we'll go into production, we'll get things going. And that seems to be what's happening here as well. I guess to touch on Elio right now, I'm totally open to taking this film out of my top five. I think it has both the audience and critic scores that it needs to survive in this category with the lack of other more domestic heavy type reception. Because I do believe that this will be the first year and maybe all the years where we have more international skewing or criticky type skewing anime features than we do have populist ones. But currently, my lineup is you could say two to three of more domestic heavy populist movies compared to international or criticky type films. And I guess for Elio, it's just like, can it pull like a Ray and the Last Dragon, where the category is empty enough where it just survives because of its name recognition, the Disney and the audience reception to it? Or
Mhm.
will other things kind of come into the category to kick it out, like we saw with Wish the year it came out?
I think Onward is a really good comparison if you're looking for a movie that sort of could reference if Elio makes it in, because that similarly didn't do very well in the box office. Granted, COVID, um, being the thing right there, but it got fine, mixed, fine reviews from critics and audiences. People liked it; they didn't love it. And it still got into best animation at the end of the day. Now that was because that was the COVID year.
Hmm.
And the field was so weak. So, in my opinion, if you're banking on Elio being in, you have to bank on this being one of the weakest fields outside of 2020.
That's why I more so compared it to Ray and the Last Dragon, because that year it was the third Disney push behind Encanto and Luca, two films that were more either critically or audience loved or made money because they got some sort of a box office release with Encanto, which went on to win the category.
Mm.
So that's for me. Maybe three is too high to have for Elio. Maybe more so should be my number five. But due to the lack of knowing how some of these other movies are really going to play out, that's why I have it in this place now. But I know there's one movie on my outside looking in that I probably should move in, but I'm also a little wary. But I know it just got some amazing news for it this week.
Okay, so should we talk about that one or should we go from my number one? What do you think?
I think the movie I just said would be your number one.
Maybe, because my number one at the moment is Scarlet.
Yeah, that's the one I was
That's the one.
referencing.
Okay, so here's my argument for Scarlet. I didn't know until literally this morning. Scarlet is apparently an adaptation of Hamlet. So it's like big knights and wizards and like a fantasy version of the Hamlet story about a girl who tries to avenge the death of either her father or her mother. That's interesting. Mamoru Hosoda as well is a filmmaker that he's gotten one nomination before for Mirai, but he's always been in the good graces of critics. You know, Wolf Children, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, Summer Wars, Mirai, The Boy and the Beast, all were very well received. And Scarlet is getting a platform that none of those films have had. It's playing out of competition at Venice. It's getting a special presentation slot at TIFF. They are platforming the hell out of this one, and it has Sony Pictures Classics backing. And what else do they have this year? What else does Sony Pictures Classics have? Nothing. Nothing. The President's Cake and Blue Moon. Scarlet, they can go all in on this one. And the fact that it's getting that festival buzz and the sort of pedigree of this being a Shakespeare adaptation as an anime, and the fact that we're seeing much more openness from the Academy to recognizing international animated films. All of this feels like a perfect storm right now of a film that can be taken seriously enough that it can get that win. So that's why I'm feeling really good about Scarlet right now.
Definitely, I guess
Hmm.
now I'm going to move Scarlet up because, like I just
Yep.
said, introing this film, it got some amazing news by premiering at Venice, one of the few animated films to do that in the history of the festival. So that bodes very good for its reception and its appeal. So I think I am going to move it up into my lineup, and I'll wait to hear some of your conversations about some of
Okay.
these other movies because you've seen both of them while I haven't seen either of them. And I know one is a lot more, I guess, critically loved, and the other one is much more audience loved.
Mm. Okay, I'm gonna be interested 'cause I don't know if I've actually seen what you think I've seen because Arno did tell me not to see goddamn Arco. He
Okay,
said
that was
don't
one of
see
them.
it.
That was one of
No,
them.
I had a ticket for it and I was tired and Arno was like, Arco's a piece of shit, don't see it. And I was like, well, I guess I'll nap. So I didn't see Arco, but Arno hates it. I don't know. I don't know where I'd stand on it. I haven't been able to see it yet. I'd love to see it soon. I don't have that in my top five though.
Okay. I know a lot of
Um,
people who have that winning because they said the reception out of Canada, it seems like for most
Interesting.
people outside of Arno was really, really, really positive.
It was really, really positive. I don't know what Arno was feeling with that one. He said it was a baby movie for babies, and it was like baby Studio Ghibli, just a weak imitation. It did also win the top prize at Annecy's competition this year, so it won the same prize that Memoir of a Snail won. But
Okay.
you know what won the audience award at Annecy? Little Amelie. This one is being distributed by G Kids, and it is a French film, sort of done in the style of anime because it's about a little girl who's dealing with mortality, dealing with her family going through tragedy while living in Japan. Um, it's apparently a phenomenal film. It also played at Annecy in competition. Again, it won the audience award, which is what Flow won. But Flow also won the runner-up prize at the festival, which this didn't. So it was Arco and Chow won number one, number two, and then Little Amelie won the audience prize. But still, the audience prize gives me some faith in this movie. I heard phenomenal things from everyone that saw it out of Cannes, um, which again gives me a little bit of bias because while I heard amazing things about Little Amelie from everyone, the only thing I heard about Arco from anyone that I knew was Arno saying it was a piece of shit, don't see it. So maybe I'm a little biased, maybe I'm a little wrong about this, but here's also my mindset with this. How many movies does Neon have to push right now? Not in animated, but like just across the board. They've got like 10 movies. And so I'm just feeling they have to make some cuts somewhere. And maybe Arco is where they fail just a little bit, right? Maybe this is where they don't manage to make the best push imaginable because, like, they have to mess up somewhere. So I've got it at my number six. I think it's a very reasonable contender. And granted, I think I could see a world where it could win Best Animation. But right now, I'm going to put it on the outside looking in because I just don't have faith that Neon can do that much. Whereas Little Amelie is G Kid only push, and we've seen them be able to get into the animation category a few times in the past few years.
Interesting. Okay. So I guess I'm going to actually leave Arco in my lineup for the moment because I don't think that Neon's priorities will matter because, as we talked about in our recently released Best Picture episode, I think more so they will pick and choose between their three or four Best Picture contenders of where to
Yep.
go. And I think that one only contender in animated feature, which Neon hasn't really played with before, will be
They
something
have with
interesting for
Robot
them.
Dreams. That's the
Okay. So
only past.
they played with it once and they were successful even when people were skeptical ahead of time. I think that I'll leave it in for now, but if more people start to see the movie and more people start to feel like Arno, maybe I'll drop it down my lineup.
Mhm.
And I guess the other movie I was thinking that you may mention, you mentioned Little Amelie, which I have around my 10 slot at the moment, which maybe I could move up in my lineup, is
You can
Neja
move it up.
2, which
Mhm.
is soon to get a US dub version, English dub here in America, coming out on my birthday weekend, actually. So I'm excited to hopefully catch it this time around because I did not get to see it last time. My biggest reservation with Neja 2, and that's why I just took it out of my lap to fit in Scarlet, is the fact that I would say it's like the reverse of Sinners, where Sinners is this huge sensation pretty strictly in America. While
Mhm.
Neja 2 is pretty much strictly a sensation in China. You
Yep.
look at the box office receipts, 95 plus percent, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but almost all of its 2 point some billion dollars is from one country. In the US, it made like $20 million dollars. In other countries, it's made so money, but like it was a non-factor anywhere else. And my thing is, will this dub version make it more accessible and people checking it out? Or will people go to see it and like, oh, sure, fine, whatever, and it won't really stick longer. So I think I am going to
Mhm.
have on my outside looking in where in a month so time when the movie does come out and people are like, oh yeah, this is actually really good. This is one of my favorite anime movies of the year. Maybe it can be that RRR Godzilla minus one push where it defies the odds and makes it into its one specific category because we know this is not going to be selected for a national feature most likely.
No, it's going to
So
be selected. It's not going to be
okay,
shortlisted.
and
But
yeah,
yeah,
so
China will submit this movie. They always submit blockbusters. They submitted the first Neja as well.
okay, cool.
So I feel confident they will select it. It will not get nominated in international feature. They are different voting bodies. My take on Neja 2 is I've got it at number 4 right now. I would love to have it at number 1 because I do think that any way you shake it, this is going to be the best animated film of the year. It is an epic among epics. This is Star Wars level big. This is Lord of the Rings level big. This is a massive movie. And it's a film that I personally really love. I can see why the Chinese box office blew the hell up over this because it is a really cool movie. The question isn't do Americans like this movie when A24 releases it? The question is do Americans see this movie when A24 re-releases it? So I want to see good box office. It doesn't need to be hundreds of millions of dollars, but we just need to see that enough people have interest in this. Um, because if enough people don't have interest, then it's going to really struggle because any way you shake it, this is still a sequel to a movie that was not successful in the United States, that
Hmm.
did not get a nomination, that most people in the Academy did not see. I always talk about my friend who votes in the animated category. He has no clue what the fuck Neja is. And hopefully that changes. I'm campaigning this movie to him, but he does not know what this movie is. He does not know what the first movie is. And that's a problem. That's a big problem because why is someone going to go see a sequel to a movie that they do not know?
To be completely honest, I had tickets for it. And then I saw that Looney Tunes movie and I thought it was so bad, I had no interest in watching anything else for the rest of the day. And then I never got another chance to see it because it was in and out of theaters, at least near me, so quickly when it had its original theatrical release earlier this year. So I'm definitely going to see it with this new, especially an IMAX release.
Mhm.
And I guess I do agree with you that I think the real tell will be do people show up? Do people care? I guess for the rest of this category, we probably have differing films from the studio in
Well,
our lineup.
I will say there's one in my top 5 that we haven't talked about.
Okay, and there's one in my top five we also haven't talked about.
I have a feeling these are both from Netflix.
I would agree, and I think that's really where the big question comes from is what is Netflix's movie this year? Because they've shown year after year, regardless of how big or how small the movie is, they're gonna find one of their movies into the lineup. And it's just
Yeah.
which one is it? Is it the summer hit that the people are talking about that people deny all year long and gets a nomination at the end of the day? Is it what they come into the season wanting to push in their prime release date? Is it the thing that they send to festivals? This year we kind of have two or three options, and it's just which one do they go with? And I think that we have differing approaches to the Netflix film this season.
Okay. Hit me with yours because I wanna dunk on this.
You can totally dunk on it. And I have no real reason behind this outside of its release date, and that is In Your Dreams, which is coming out in what is the typical Netflix awardsy mid to late November slot. And at least from listening to other people in the scene, they seem to be very high on this movie. Either that's from insider word from people they've talked with at studios or whatnot, but it seems like the buzz on this ahead of time before it's been seen to the public is somewhat positive. And I think part of my reason for having this in is because I'm looking forward, but I do admit there is a film that just came out on Netflix that has lots of positive buzz. My one reservation with that is the buzz is all very youth skewing. So is that going to appeal to the voters when we get later on into the season?
In Your Dreams, it just has nothing to make me confident in it, and everything about it feels as industry plant as anything else. But K-pop Demon Hunters, yes, it could be youth skewing, but it has done exceptionally well on Netflix. It has done exceptionally well with critics, with audiences. The music is charting on Billboard right now. Like, this has been a phenomenon, the likes of which we have not seen in ages. And if we're saying that the battle is between K-pop Demon Hunters and In Your Dreams, I'd also toss the Twits in there, which is going to be a late year Netflix release. And it's an adaptation of a Roald Dahl story. This is the comparison I would give. Let's look at the past few years of Netflix contenders and Netflix nominees. We've got Nimona, which was an early year release, and it beat out over Wendell and Wild, which was a festival late year release for Netflix. Nimona was the one that stuck. The Sea Beast, The Mitchells versus the Machines. The only Netflix movie that I can think of, you might need to fact check me here, that was the late year release and got into the category was Over the Moon. And that was 2020 when it was a weak year. Otherwise, most of the time, almost all of the time, the Netflix movie that gets in is their June release. Nimona, Mitchells versus the Machines, The Sea Beast, all of those contenders are the K-pop Demon Hunters slot, which also is co-signed by Sony Animation. And I just want to make an amendment to something I said earlier. K-pop Demon Hunters was not sold by Sony to Netflix. It's a co-production between the two of them because that's what they do now. That's what they did with the Mitchells versus the Machines. I think that the Sea Beast was the same. Scarlet is Sony Pictures Classics. It is an acquisition. It is not a Sony Pictures animation. And we know Animated Branch likes Sony Pictures Animation at the moment. They didn't back in the Lego Movie days. Now they seem to. And that's K-pop Demon Hunters right now. So not only is it Netflix, it is Sony Pictures Animation.
Hmm.
I just think it's big. It's big. It has the word of mouth. It's in a better spot with word of mouth right now than the Sea Beast was, than Nimona was, arguably than Mitchell's versus the Machines, although I think that one had some really good buzz to it as well. All I'm going to say here is end of the year. Do you see K-pop Demon Hunters being nominated across the board at the Annie Awards? Because I do. And that was the path for a nomination for both Nimona and the Sea Beast. They overperformed at the Annies, and then they got into Best Animated Feature at the Oscars.
Yeah, and I think that's a very great call. For I think Nimona is a very good one-for-one comparison there, where it's a film that is very youth-skewing, that has its diehard fans, but also has a good amount of people who aren't really into it. So I think that is a great point of comparison for it to go forward. And I guess the one other movie that we both have inside our top tens that we have yet to mention yet is that typical PGA nominee that gets in because of the money it makes and the name recognition behind the brand, being The Bad Guys 2. The first Bad Guys, I was pretty surprised when it failed to really take off that season because it had box office, it had critical, and it had audience support that I felt like it could have gotten some places as like the fifth or sixth nominee, but it was really a non-starter all season long. So I feel like the same thing will kind of be. I feel like the same thing will be in the cards for the Bad Guys 2 this year, where it will show up at PGA. It may show up at like Critics' Choice, but it's going to miss out on the BAFTA. It's probably not going to do well at the Annies, and then at Golden Globes, maybe since they have five or six nominees, but also maybe not because the Globes are now skewing more and more international year after year.
Yeah. We differ on The Bad Guys because I thought that The Bad Guys 1 was a piece of shit. I hated that movie with a passion. The only way that I can see The Bad Guys 2 getting anything more than the first one is if it's like a Puss in Boots 2 level surprise. Wow, everyone thinks this is a masterpiece. Which I don't see for it. I don't see for it. I would be very, very shocked. But in my opinion, that's the only path this one has to nominations. I don't think it'll get PGA. I don't think it'll get Critics' Choice. I think that this is just going to be the also ran of the year of just like, wow, that exists. And audiences saw it, but who cares? I think it's going to be like the Minions Rise of Gru.
Man, that hurts. That hurts. But
That
that's the
hurts.
fun
Oh,
of this animated feature category, especially this year, is because no one has a clue. Because looking at our list of 10 here, three maybe four of these movies, depending on when Bad Guys Two's critical screenings are, had been screened to the public or had been screened to critics at this point. So lots of question marks, lots of guessing, and that's what makes all of this super, super, super fun.
I love this category. I love all the specialized categories, and I love that we get to argue about it because we definitely have very different tastes in animation, although I think we both love animation equally. So we're passionate, and all we can both hope for is we get a good lineup this year. What a good lineup looks like in the animated feature category, I think we differ on that.
I mean, I feel like we were in agreements last year in 2024. I think it was very
Yeah.
interesting that I seemed to like Flow more than you, and you liked Wild Robot more than
Yes.
me, because you would think it would
Yes.
be the opposite way.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a strange thing last year. And I liked Wallace and Gromit more than anyone. So,
Well, there you go.
yeah. Anyways, that is our breakdown on the animated feature category. I don't think that there's much else to talk about. I mean, maybe it's worth saying that A Magnificent Life is nothing and Fixed is coming out in like August and is going to be buried by Netflix. But otherwise, I think we've covered all of the animated films this year, unless there's something that comes out of the
Is
blue that we don't
Dogman.
know about. There's Dogman. It's not worth talking about. It's not worth talking
Exactly.
about Dogman. But that's the end of this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I think the wind is picking up. I hope that that's not killing my audio. Oh my God, it's a good time to finish, I guess. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. As always, my name's Matt.
My name's Dill, and this has been Fantasy Filmball.